Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to install macOS Ventura on any laptop or desktop. Now this should work either you're using an Intel or AMD processor. iCloud and other Apple services should work as well. Now I've made a lot of videos on how to install macOS Ventura, but this is going to be more detailed and I would follow everything step by step. Now here are the requirements. First, we need macOS Ventura Installer File. We need Balena Etcher, which we're going to use to create a bootable disk. We need Opencore EFI, which is what we're going to use to boot. We need ProperTree. We need Explorer++. We need Gen SMBIOS, which we're going to use to generate unique serial for our machine. We need MiniTool Partition Wizard. And we need ESP Mounter Pro, but we're going to use it after the installation. Now, I'll provide the links to each and every one of these files in the video description so you can download yourself. Now, let's begin with the installation. Now the first thing we're going to do is to check the processor we're using so we know how to start creating the EFI. So hold Ctrl+ Escape and then click on Performance in your task manager. Click on CPU and right here you can see I'm using AMD Ryzen 5 1500X processor. So you can see AMD Ryzen 5, that's the CPU name. Now check in your case it may be Intel Core i5, i7, i9, whatever it is. Just keep note of it. Now for those using AMD Ryzen, we are going to go through the same step, but for those using Intel, there are different code names to different generations of Intel processors. Now you can see I'm using Intel Core i5 4570. This means this is a 4th generation CPU starting with 4, and this is a Core i5 CPU. 4th generation CPUs are called Haswell, so the code name for my CPU is Haswell. Now take note of the code name of your processor because when we are building our EFI, we are going to need it. Now let's head to a browser and begin downloading the required files. First, we're going to download Balena Etcher. Download Etcher. Download for Windows since we are running this on a Windows machine. Next, we're going to download macOS Ventura Installer File. Now the link will be provided in the video description so you can just download directly from MediaFire. This file is around 14 GB. I already have it downloaded, so I'm going to cancel the download. Next, we are going to download Opencore package. Click on the link to GitHub and you can see the latest release right here, which is currently version 1.0.0. So under assets, click on Opencore 1.0.0 release.zip. Next, we are going to download ProperTree. Click on code and then download zip. Next, we are going to download Explorer++. Now select 64 bits and it should start downloading. Next, we have to download Gen SMBIOS. Click on the link, click on code and then download zip. Next, we have to download MiniTool Partition Wizard. Click on the link right here. Click on download now. We're going to download the free version and it should start downloading. Now the last file we need to download is ESP Mounter Pro, but we're not going to make use of it now until we are done with the installation. So we're just going to skip that for now. Now make sure you have at least a 16 GB flash drive, which we're going to use to create a bootable disk. So now we can close our browser and then open our download folder. So here we go. This is our macOS Ventura installer file. This is Balena Etcher. This is our Opencore package. This is MiniTool Partition Wizard. This is Explorer++. This is ProperTree and this is Gen SMBIOS. So first we have to create a bootable disk, and to do that let's install Balena Etcher by double clicking on it. Alright, now connect your flash drive at least 16 GB. If you have anything more than that, you should be fine. After connecting your flash drive, click on Flash from File. and then locate your download folder. Select our macOS Ventura installer file we downloaded around 13.9 gigabytes. Open, and then click on select target, and your flash drive should show there. You can see this is my 16 gig flash drive. Select it and then click on select. Now click on flash. Now this should take some time, roughly around 30 minutes. It all depends on the read and write speed of your drive. While this is running, we can proceed with other steps. So let's head back to our download folder. Now we should start creating EFI for our system. This video is sponsored by DoWebTech. DoWebTech is a professional web development company that helps you develop a professional website for your business or services. Simply head to dowebtech.com, get in touch with the team, and you can have your website running in less than a week. Now back to the video. Now the process for creating a working EFI is quite long, but I will walk you through it. You can either create your EFI from scratch, which we are about to do, or download a pre-built EFI from Olarilla, which I'm going to show you right now. So you can see on this web page there are lots of EFI you can use right here. So this is Opencore desktop, which basically means it is for desktop computers. You can see EFI based on the code name of your PC. 4th gen processors are called Haswell. So if you're using Haswell or Broadwell, then you can download EFI here. You can see Coffee Lake, which is for 9th gen processors, Intel processors. You can download here. But if you're using AMD processor, then you can just download this EFI down here. It works for all AMD Ryzen processors, Jaguar and Bulldozer, even Threadripper. So you can download here for those using AMD. But if you're using Intel, then check the code name of your PC and then download from here. Now this is for desktop. If you're using a laptop, you can also come down here and you can see Opencore Notebook, which is for laptops. And then you can download the EFI based on the system you're using. Now that is it for using a pre-built EFI from Olarilla. Next, you can also go to my website etechbox.com and then click on Custom EFI up here. And here you can request for a custom EFI based on your hardware, and we're going to build a working EFI based on your specified hardware. Now you can choose any of these options, but I'm going to walk you through creating an EFI from scratch. If you use the pre-built EFI from Olarilla or you use a custom EFI from us, then you can skip to the next step. But if you want to build it yourself, then you have to watch this part. Now let's proceed with creating our EFI. So let's extract Opencore right here. Extract files. Let's also extract ProperTree. Extract. So this is what we are going to be working with for a couple of minutes. So first, open Opencore, go to x64, and then copy the EFI folder right here. Let's copy, and then let's paste it in our download folder so we can work directly from here. Paste. So this is the EFI folder, right? Next, let's open the EFI folder. You can see boot, which contains boot x64. Under OC, you can see lots of files right here. Go back to our download folder. Now open Opencore again. Go to docs, and then copy sample right here. Copy it. That's our configuration file. Go to download, open the EFI again, open OC, and then paste the sample file right here. Now let's rename it from sample to config. This is our configuration file for Opencore. Now we can begin building our EFI. So let me quickly pull up the guide. So this is the guide we are following, and I'm going to add the link in the video description as well. So we are right here in the step called gathering files. So if we scroll down here, we can see the required files that we need. And firstly, under firmware drivers, we need hfs plus.efi and we need openruntime.efi. Now let's open drivers. So under drivers, you can see lots of files right here, but we are going to delete all of them and just keep hfs and open runtime. So this is open runtime, and we don't have hfs here, so we're going to download it. And also you should leave open canopy and also leave reset NVRAM. Now I'm going to talk about this later on, but just leave it and delete the rest. So we have open canopy, open runtime, and reset NVRAM. Now we need hfs plus. So let's open a new tab and download hfs plus. So you can see download raw file right here. Download. Now we can head to our download folder, copy HFS plus, or just cut it, EFI OC under drivers, right? You can paste it here. So Open Canopy here is the file we are basically going to use to set a theme for our bootloader. Now, when you're booting into Windows, you basically get a bootloader that shows you list of options you can boot into. Now we can use a custom theme, and that is why we need Open Canopy. We're going to learn more about this once we start the installation, but for now, this is what we need under drivers. Next, let's scroll down, and you can see Kext. So Kext right here is like your drivers on Windows, right? You have drivers for Wi-Fi, you have drivers for Ethernet, and the rest of that. So Kext is like drivers in Windows. So these are the Kext we need. These are the Kext that are required. Lilu first, and Virtual SMC. So let's open Lilu in a new tab and open Virtual SMC in a new tab as well. So this is Lilu. I'm going to download the release right here, 1.6.7, which is the latest version right now. Also going to download Virtual SMC 1.3.2 latest right now. So those are the two required Kext. Now there are lots of other ones we may need, but these are just the two that is required. So let's copy those files. So let's head to our download folder. These are two of them. So I'm just going to extract them. Extract Lilu as well. Now let's open Virtual SMC, and you can see Kext, tools, and DSYM. Open Kext, and you should see under Virtual SMC we need virtual smc.kext. You can see right here .kext. This is the folder we need. So just copy it. Okay, let's go to our download, EFI, OC, Kext, and then paste it there. So this is virtual smc.kext. Next, let's go back. We also need to copy Lilu. So open Lilu, and you can see lilu.kext right here. Copy as well, and then paste it right there. Now you should take note, it would always have an extension .kext. That is what shows that this is actually a Kext. Next, we scroll down. Under virtual SMC, you can see other Kext which may be needed. So you can see smc processor.kext. This is used for monitoring Intel CPU temperature. So if you're using an Intel PC, then you may want to add this from your virtual SMC. Under Kext, you can see SMC processor, which is used to monitor CPU temperature. But I don't really need it since I am using an AMD CPU. Next, we have SMC AMD processor, which is used for monitoring CPU temperature on AMD based systems, but it requires AMD Ryzen CPU power management. So if we are getting SMC AMD processor, we also need AMD Ryzen CPU power management. So if you want to monitor the CPU temperature on your AMD machine, then you should definitely get this. So I'm going to copy it, SMC AMD processor, but it is not among our list of Kext here, so we have to download it. So let's open that in a new tab, and also click on the link to AMD CPU specific Kext, and then we can click on the link to CPU power management. So for us to run SMC AMD processor, we also need AMD CPU power management, so we need both of them. So let's download them. Click on releases right here, and then you can see AMD Ryzen CPU power management Kext. Click on it, download, and you can also see AMD processor Kext as well. So we can click on it and download as well. Now let's go back to our downloaded folder, extract both of them. So here we go. This is SMC AMD processor, and this is the Kext. Copy, and then paste it in our Kext folder, and then go back. AMD Ryzen CPU power management Kext. Copy, and then paste it here as well. All right. Next, we have to proceed with what's next. Next, you can see SMC Radeon GPU, which is used to monitor GPU temperature on AMD GPU systems. Now, these ones here, you can get it based on what you want, but I don't really need this, so I'm just going to ignore it. We are just going with what is really required. You can see other kegs used for monitoring ambient light on laptops, but I'm using a desktop, so I don't need this. So you have to choose the specific kegs that matches with your hardware. So now we can scroll down to graphics. And under graphics, whatever grain is required. So let's open it in new tab. And then download whatever grain, the latest release.zip. Now let's open our download folder, extract whatever grain zip. Open the extracted folder, and you can see the kegs right here, whatever green.kegs. Let's copy, paste. Let's head on to the next step. Now the next thing we have here is audio, and for audio you can see Apple ALC, which is used for patching Apple audio. So this is what we need, so we're going to download it. Download the latest release as well. And then extract. Open the extracted folder, Apple ALC.kegs, copy, paste it in our kegs folder. Okay, now we can just wipe everything in our download folder since it's getting quite much. So let's just delete it for now. Okay, let's head on to the next step. After downloading Apple ALC and adding the kegs, next we have Ethernet, and the first option, Intel Mouse, is required for majority of Intel network cards, but you just have to check what matches with your network card. Now you can just simply go to Device Manager on your Windows PC and then select Network Adapters, and you can see your Ethernet right here. So for Ethernet, I need a Realtek Ethernet driver. If you're using anything else, you should see it here. Same thing with Wi-Fi. I don't really have a Wi-Fi card on my PC right now, so I don't need Wi-Fi support. So for Ethernet, I'm going with the Realtek RTL 811, which is for Realtek Gigabit Ethernet. You can use Intel Mouse if you're using an Intel network card, and you can basically download 3 of them or all of them, and then after the installation you can check whichever works and then delete the ones that doesn't really work. So let's just go with what we have on our PC, which is the Realtek RTL. So let me open in a new tab and then download. You can see the release right here. Extract. Let's copy. Under release, you see the kegs right here. So let's copy the kegs.kegs. Remember, paste it there. Next, we scroll down. Let's ignore the USB section, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Now you can see for non-native Bluetooth cards. Non-native Bluetooth cards means Bluetooth cards that are not really Apple Bluetooth cards. You need Bluetooth fix-up, which patches the macOS 12 Plus. So anything above macOS 12, Bluetooth should work using the Bluetooth fix-up. But if you're using anything from macOS Big Sur, High Sierra and lower versions, then this shouldn't work. Now for Intel, I would recommend using the Airport driver because it supports large variety of Intel wireless cards. So you should just get that. But since I don't have a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth in my current machine, I'm just going to skip it. But you may have to download this. So you can just download and add the kegs as well. Next, we are going with AMD CPU specific kegs. Now these kegs are exclusive to just those using an AMD CPU. So if you're using Intel CPU, then you don't really need to get any of these things. So you can see USB fix for AMD FX systems, not recommended for Ryzen. Since we're using a Ryzen processor, then we don't need this. Next, you can see Voodoo HDA, which is audio for FX systems. You shouldn't use this if you're already using Apple ALC because it would conflict with it. So we're just going to skip that. And then we also need Apple Ryzen CPU power management, which is what we can use to monitor power for Ryzen systems. Now we already have this from before. You can see it right here. Next, we have extras. And for extras, we have Apple MCE Reporter Disabler, which is required for macOS 12.3 and later. And considering we are running macOS 13, which is Ventura, we need this. So let's open a new tab and download. Now let's head back to copy the text. So let's extract files, open the extracted folder and copy our text, paste in our text folder. Next, we also need restrict event, which is basically used to patch various functions of macOS. So click on restrict event, click on release, and download the latest release, currently 1.1.3. Head back, extract, copy the text as well, paste, head back, and we are done with getting text. Now these are all the text we need. You can always make changes to this even after the installation, but these are the ones that are required that you should have. So let's move out of our text folder in our EFI. Let's look at ACPI, which is the next thing we need to get. The folder is currently empty. So for ACPI, we just have to scroll down here and then click on get started with ACPI. I will also provide this link in the video description. Under ACPI right here, we're just going to click on Prebuilt SSDT, which is what we need. Click on Prebuilt SSDT. And you should see SSDT based on your CPU. Haswell and Broadwell, Skylake, Coffee Lake, Comet Lake. For me, I am using a Ryzen CPU. You can see AMD SSDT right here. And AMD Ryzen falls under Zen. So I'm going to click on Zen. And it should take me down here. So you can see for my processor, AMD Zen, which Ryzen falls under, I need SSDT EC USB-X desktop. Open a new tab. And the second SSDT here, which is required, is only required for B550 and A520 motherboard. So if you're using any other motherboard that isn't B550, B550 Plus, or A520, then you don't need this second SSDT right here. Now to check the motherboard you're using, you can just go to Windows and search for system information. Under system information, you should see your baseboard product, which is your motherboard name. In my case, this is Prime A320M. So I don't really need the second text since I'm using A320M. But if you're using a B550 motherboard, then you need the second SSDT alongside with the first SSDT. But for me, I'm just going to download the first one. So that's the link to the first one, and then we click on download raw file. Now we can head back to our download folder, copy the SSDT, and then paste it in our ACPI folder. Okay, now we are almost done with all the files we need. After this, we should begin working with our configuration file. But before we start doing that, I would want us to use a theme for our bootloader like I mentioned earlier. So we are going to head on with that. Okay, so now we want to use a theme for our bootloader. So that is when we need Opencore Beauty Treatment. I'm also going to provide this link. First, we need binary resources. Open a new tab. And next, we need OpenCanopy.EFI. If you remember, I told you to keep OpenCanopy.EFI in our drivers folder instead of deleting it. So if you open drivers, you can see OpenCanopy.EFI, which is already here. So now we just have to download the binary resources. So let's head here and then click on code, download zip, start download. Now let's head to our download folder and then extract OC binary data master, extract files, and then open the extracted folder, open, and you should see drivers and resources. So copy resources right here, copy, and then go to our EFI folder, OC, and then just paste it here. So you should replace the original resources here. So if you open resources and open images, you can see Acidantera, which is a theme, and that is what we're going to use to boot. So that is it. Now we can begin working with our configuration file. So let's close this. And the next page we're going to go to is configs. You can see configs right here. Now for configs, you can see configs based on different processor code names. This is for Intel desktop. Under Intel desktop, you can see Penreal, you can see other Intel code names right here. But in this case, we are using an AMD PC, so I'm going to click on AMD desktop. And under AMD desktop, you can see Bulldozer and Jaguar. You can see Ryzen and Threadripper, which is what we are using, Ryzen. So I'm going to click on Ryzen and Threadripper. And this is it. So next, let's head back to our download folder. Now we need ProperTree. So open ProperTree, open ProperTree master, and you should find Windows batch file ProperTree. Right click and run as administrator. Now click on File, Open, and then locate your download folder, locate your EFI folder, open OC, and then select config, which is our configuration file, open. And you can see it currently contains lots of random stuffs right here. Now click on File, and then click on OC snapshot. Now what this is basically going to do is it is going to take a snapshot of your current EFI folder and then add all these keys and the drivers we've added to our configuration file. So locate your download folder, EFI, open OC, and then you can just click on select folder, and it should automatically add everything. Now we can delete this forewarning here. Be careful not to delete anything else. Let's close this drop down. Now click on File and then click on Save. Alright, now let's begin working on our configuration. So we scroll down. First thing we need is ACPI, which we've already added. So we can just proceed with what's next. So next, under Booter, we have to make some changes. So under Booter, you can see MMIO whitelist, which we're just going to leave like that. And then under Quex, which is under Booter, you have to set the virtualized MMIO to no. But if you have a TROX 40 system, then you have to enable this. But since we don't have that, we are just going to, let's drop down the rest. Quex, that's what we're working with, right? Under Quex, you see the virtualized MMIO, set it to false, which is no. Next, enable write on protector, set it to false. Enable write on protector, we set it to false. Next, rebuild Apple memory map, set it to yes. Rebuild Apple memory map, that's true. Resize Apple GPU bars, set it to -1, which is currently set to -1. Set up virtual map, set it to true, which is set to true. And sync runtime permission, set it to yes as well. True. Okay, now we can collapse the Quex. Make sure to save changes. Now let's scroll down. Next thing is device property, which we're going to just leave it as it is right now. Next, we have kernel. So under kernel, we have to make few changes. So scroll down. And you can see the instruction here. We should delete patch under kernel. So let's collapse. So let's drop down kernel. Let's close this, close this, close this, close this. And you can see that we should delete patch. So I'm just going to right click on patch and then click on remove patch, and it should remove the patch. Now we're also going to add another patch, which we should get somewhere around here. So you can see kernel patches for Ryzen and Threadripper. So let me open that in a new tab. And then click on code, download zip. So we can download the patch. Download. Now let's open our download folder. And you can see AMD Vanilla Master, that's the name, extract. Open the extracted folder, open, and you can see patches right here. Okay, so we need to load these patches in our configuration file. So just click on File and then Open. Now we can go to our download folder, compressed, AMD Vanilla Master, open, and then open patches. and you can see it has now opened patch. All right, now you can see close the patch and then right click, copy, and in our configuration plist, right click on kernel and then paste. So it should add patch. Now we can collapse this. Let's close this. So we've now added patch which we downloaded. Now we have to make few changes in this patch. So let's open the patch. So you can see we have to make changes based on our CPU cores. So first, hold Ctrl Shift Escape to open your task manager and then go to your CPU. And right here you can see cores under CPU. For cores, I have 4 cores and I have 8 threads. So what we need is the number of cores, which is 4. So under patch you can see 0, there is 1, there is 2, there is 3, and the rest of that. So open 0, and then under replace we have to replace this value you can see right here with the value from this page, B80800000000. Copy, replace, paste, and then this 08 right here we're going to replace 08 with our processor cores. I have 4 cores, so it's going to be 04. If you have 8 cores, it's going to be 08. If you have 16 cores, it is going to be 16. Now we can close 0 and then go to 1. Copy the second line. Under replace right here, paste, replace 08 with 04. Replace with whatever your CPU cores are. The third one as well. That's 2. Paste it there. Replace 08. And the fourth one, which is the last, that's for 3. Paste and then replace with 08. Let's save. Okay, that is it for kernel patch. Now let's scroll down and you can see quirks right here. So let's collapse kernel patch and then expand quirks right here. So under quirks we have to set panic no kext dump to yes, and we should find that right here. So set it to true. Power timeout kernel panic, set it to yes. This is it, true. Provide current CPU info, set it to true. XHCI port limit, we should set it to true, but we should disable if you're running anything above version 11.3, which we are, so we have to set it to false. So it is currently set to false, so that's fine. So let's collapse this. On that scheme, we just have to leave it the way it is, and then the next thing we can go to MISC. So let's collapse kernel and then expand MISC. So under MISC we have to set boot hide auxiliary to true. So you can see boot right here and you can see hide auxiliary, it is already set to true, so that's fine. Let's collapse boot, and then under debug set Apple debug to yes, Apple panic yes, disable watchdog yes, and then targets to 67. So this is used to debug Hackintosh in case we have issues while installing. So we're just going to set yes and then target 67. Next we go to security, allow set defaults to yes, blacklist Apple update yes, and scan policy 0. So let's go to security. So under security, allow set default, set it to true, that's yes. Blacklist Apple updates right here, yes. Scan policy, remove this value here and set it to 0. Secure boot model, leave it at default, and then for vault set it to optional. Now go back to boot. So let's expand boot, and you should see something called picker mode. Now picker mode is what we're going to use to select the theme that Opencore should boot with. Since we are using an external theme which is in our resources folder, we're going to change this from built-in to external. So it is going to select the theme from our resources folder. So that is it for boot. Now we can close MISC. Scroll down. Next we have NVRAM. So this is where we're going to set the boot arguments. So scroll down, and under NVRAM you should find boot args, boot args, and under boot args you should find the value right here. So what we need is boot argument that should work with our PC. -V enables verbose mode, which is basically what would help us debug if we have issues with running Mac OS. Next, we have debug, which is also good for debug as well. We have keep SYMS, but these are not really required. You can have them or not have them. So you can see this right here, NPCI, which disables some PCI debug related to this and this, and it is required if you get stuck in PCI configuration. So I actually need this to prevent some PCI issues, so we're going to add that. So just space and then paste. And then lastly, we have ALCID equal to 1, which is used for setting layout ID for Apple ALC. I would also need this. This has to do with audio. So let's copy ALCID equal to 1 and then paste it there as well. Now, we don't really need all of these we are keeping here. Most of this is just for debug. -V would help us see what's going on and not just show Apple logo without knowing what is actually running behind the scene. Keep SYMS equal to 1 also is helpful for debug. It works with debug OX 100. So let's add debug OX 100. It works hand in hand with debug OS 100. So we're going to add that as well. So you can see this is the companion setting to debug OX 100 that tells the OS to print the symbols on a kernel panic. So that is it for keep SYMS and debug OX 100. And then NPCI is what we really need, which is going to help us tackle PCI configuration issues. So that is it. File, save. Next, we can scroll down, so you can see other boot arguments that are specific to GPU. So you can go through them if you want, but that is just what we need. Now we can scroll down, and then under delete, still under that NVRAM, set write flash to yes. So scroll down and you should see delete right here. Just scroll down and you can see write flash. It is already set to true, so that's fine. Now we can collapse NVRAM. Scroll down, ignore platform info. We're going to work on that later. So under UEFI, we have to check if connect drivers is set to true. So under UEFI, you should see connect drivers. And you can see it is currently set to true, which is fine. Now we can save. Now let's scroll down. And under quirks, we have to set unblock FS connect to no. So let's go to quirks, still under UEFI. And you can see unblock FS connect. Unblocks FX connect. Set it to false, which is already set to false, but it is needed for HP motherboard. So if you're using a HP proprietary system, then you should set it to true. Now let's scroll down. And that is all for our configuration file. So we have successfully patched our configuration file based on our hardware. Now there are a couple of things we omitted which we have to check. First, go to UEFI and then scroll down to drivers. Now under drivers, you should see open runtime.efi. It is enabled, it's set to true. But if we scroll down, you should find open canopy, which is not enabled. So set it to true as well. And also set reset NVRAM to true under enabled. Now let's collapse UEFI and go to kernel. Expand add. And under add, you should see the text here, executable path enabled set to true. So check and you would find some of them that are not enabled. And right here we have Apple MCE, which is not enabled. So change the status to true enabled. Airport BRC and fix up, change it to true as well. Change this to true as well. Make sure you enable all the text. Now also go to NVRAM and under prev language, remove everything here so we can have a language selector. And that is all. Now we can save and then close. Open our download folder. So this is our EFI we've been working on, and that is what we are going to need. So we are done with creating our Opencore EFI. One more thing, we're also going to generate a unique MAC serial for our Opencore EFI. So generating the unique MAC serial will allow us log into iCloud and use other Apple services. So let's extract Gen SMBIOS right here, extract files, and then open Gen SMBIOS extracted folder right here. Open, and then run the Windows batch file Gen SMBIOS. Now don't run this as administrator, just run it normally. Double click on it to run. Now make sure you're connected to the internet because it would need to install and update MAC serial. Enter 1 and then hit enter to install and update MAC serial. Next, enter 2 and then hit enter. So now we can drag and drop our configuration file. So go to download EFI OC and then drag config right here, drop, and then hit enter to continue. Next, enter 3 and then hit enter to generate SMBIOS. Now we're going to generate SMBIOS for Mac Pro 7.1, which is a Mac of 2019, and it should be able to run macOS Ventura. Mac Pro, write it exactly as seen, 7.1, and then hit enter. Hit enter again. You can see the unique serial right here. Now we can close Gen SMBIOS. Go back to our download folder. So let's check up on Balena Etcher, and you can see it has successfully flashed the installer file to our flash drive. So we can close Balena Etcher, open our download folder. Now we can delete Balena Etcher, delete this Opencore file right here, delete Gen SMBIOS, ProperTree, just delete anything we don't need so we don't get confused. So let's delete all of that we don't need. Next, let's install MiniTool Partition Wizard. Continue with the free version. Continue installing free version. Next. Next. And it should start downloading. Installed. Now click on Finish to launch. Alright, so if you look down here, you can see disk 1, disk 2, disk 3, and disk 4 with a removable disk icon right here, which is our flash drive of 16 gig. Now you can see this is 14.6 gig. Others right here, 13.6 gig is where macOS installer is. You can see unallocated 823 megabytes, and you can also see an EFI partition right here, EFI FAT32. Now right click on the EFI partition of our flash drive, and then click on change letter. You can change it to whatever letter you want. I'm just going to call it X. Click on OK, and then click on apply. Click on yes. Click on OK, and then we can close MiniTool. So this will allow us gain access to our EFI partition of our flash drive. So right click on Explorer++ and extract file. Now open Explorer++, and you can see the application right here, Explorer++. Right click and run as administrator. And right here you should see EFI X, which we just changed the letter just now. So open EFI X and delete everything inside. Now head to our download folder and then copy our EFI file which we've been working on, our EFI folder. Copy this PC, locate EFI X, and then let's paste it there. Now let's close Explorer++ since we've copied the file. And we are good to start the installation. But before we begin the installation, we need to confirm where we are installing macOS Ventura. So head to Windows and search for partition. Click on create and format hard disk partitions. And it should open disk management. Now under disk management, you can see disk 0 right here is our current drive where we're running Windows 10 from, and that is what we're using right now. Disk 1 right here is my SSD which has Linux in it, disk 2 right here is my backup drive, and disk 3 is a removable flash drive. Now you should know where you want to install macOS Ventura. If you have just one drive on your PC, maybe just this Windows 10 here, maybe just this drive with Windows 10 here, then you can partition the drive to run both Windows and macOS. But if you want to install just macOS and get rid of Windows, then you don't have to do any of this, since as you're installing macOS, you can just erase the drive. But since I want to run both Windows and macOS, I can just right click on the drive and then shrink volume. Now, you shrinking this drive means you're dividing the storage and setting an exact size for your macOS installation. In my case, I don't have enough storage on this drive since it is 118 gig and the free space on this drive is around 17 gig, and 17 gig is not enough to run macOS. I would recommend anything above 80 gigabytes, so make sure you use a drive that has enough space in it. So you can see the unallocated space around 16.6 gig, which shouldn't be enough, so I'm just going to extend my drive back. So where I plan to install macOS in is disk 1, which is currently running Linux. So I'm just going to right click on that disk 1 and then delete volume, and then it is now unallocated. Now I'm going to right click and then create a new simple volume. Next, assign a letter to it. Let me just call it M. Next, let's give it a name. Let's call this macOS 13 so we can recognize it when we are doing the installation. Next, and finish. And you can see the drive now has the name macOS 13, so we can take note of it, so when we are running the installation we can install on this drive. Now we can close disk management, restart our PC into our BIOS to make few changes, and we can begin the installation. So let's restart. Now hold F2, F9 or F12 to boot into your BIOS. It may be different depending on the PC you're using. In my case, I'm using an ASUS motherboard, so it is F2. First, we have to go to SATA configuration and then switch from RAID to AHCI. So make sure the SATA mode is set to AHCI instead of RAID. Next, we are going to boot settings and then boot configuration. Make sure fast boot is disabled and also disable secure boot as well if it is enabled. Now let's go to our boot options. Now also switch the boot option, set boot option 1 to UEFI, our flash drive, so we can boot directly. Now we can save changes. Now hit the spacebar to show other hidden auxiliary, and then navigate to the end and you should find reset NVRAM, and that is it right there. Hit enter. Select install macOS Ventura and then hit enter. Now select a language for the installation and then continue. Next, go to disk utility and then continue so we can erase the hard disk and then install macOS. So you can see our drive right there, macOS 13. Let's click on erase and then give it any name we want. Set the format to APFS and then erase. Now click on done. Let's go back. Click on install macOS Ventura, continue. Now click on continue. Agree to the terms by clicking on agree. Agree. Now select our drive which we erased earlier, macOS 13, and then continue. And it should start installing. Now this should take around an hour. It may restart severally while installing, but you just have to wait. And the installation is complete after around 45 minutes. Now let's set based on our personal preference. So first we're going to select our country and then continue. Continue. And then just set everything based on how you want it. We are going to skip Apple sign in for now. We can do that after the setup. Now set up your username and password for this machine and then continue. You can switch between the light and the dark mode, whichever you prefer. I'm just going to go with auto, so it will switch automatically. And we are done with setting up our Hackintosh. Now we just have to set up our keyboard and then we can start using our machine. So here we go. Everything is working correctly as it should. Now let's check about this Mac. Everything is working fine. This is macOS Ventura. The graphics card is also showing RX 470, 16 gig DDR4 RAM with 2666 speed. So basically this is how to install macOS Ventura. Now we have one more thing to do. So the EFI we are booting with is currently on our flash drive and we want to move that into our main drive. And to do that we need ESP Mounter Pro. So head to your Safari browser and then let's search for ESP Mounter Pro eTech box. Now click on the first link that heads to eTech box ESP Mounter Pro. Now let's download. Now let's close Safari and this is ESP Mounter Pro. So let's open it. Now if you get any prompt like this, click on OK. That is because we are downloading from our website, not from Apple Store. Click on the Apple icon up here and then go to System Settings. Go to Privacy and Security. Scroll down and you should find ESP Mounter Pro was blocked from use because it is not from an identified developer. Click on Open anyway. Enter your password to confirm. And then modify settings. And then click on Open. Enter your password again. Install helper. And ESP Mounter Pro is now running. So if you look up here, you can see a disk icon right here. So let's click on the disk icon and then click on Show All Disk. Click on OK. Let's head back. Show All Disk. Now you can see EFI partition on my SSD. This is also Microsoft Reserve partition on my SSD. This is Windows 10, the partition where Windows 10 is running from. And if I keep scrolling down, you can see my main drive right here, which is the drive we are running macOS on. And then if you scroll down, you would see other partitions right here. Now we want to copy our EFI from our flash drive. So we have to mount the EFI partition on our M.2 so I can copy my EFI there. And then also copy the EFI from my flash drive. But now the option to mount is not here. So all we have to do is restart and then we can actually mount. Okay, so we just restarted our Mac. Now let's click on ESP Mounter Pro again and then Show All Disk. And you can see the EFI partition on our M.2. So let's click on Mount and then click on Open Volume. And you can see this is an EFI folder. Now let's click there again and then scroll down and you should find the EFI on your flash drive. Now this is our flash drive, which is showing down here, vendor, co-products and all of that, EFI. So now let's mount that as well and then open the volume. So we have to copy the EFI from our flash drive here to our main drive. Now you can see the EFI of our main drive right here. If we open it, you can see boot and Microsoft. And then if you open the EFI of our flash drive right here, you can see boot and OC. So all you have to do is copy OC folder right here, copy, and then paste it in the EFI of our main drive alongside with boot and Microsoft. Also copy the boot folder and then replace. Now we can restart our PC and then boot into macOS. So here you can choose between Windows and macOS. So let's boot into macOS. Now you can log in with your password. So basically, this is how to install macOS Ventura on your Windows PC. If this video was helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notification. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.